Been another successful season for the South Winn boys and girls track programs. Many events heading down to the state meet. The South Winn girls going to be busy. The South Winn boys going to be busy here with coaches Scott Conway and Kevin Kearney. And Kevin, let's start on the girls side of things. You guys are going to be busy as I look at it in 7 events, but I believe 4 of those 7 events are seated pretty high. So you guys got a chance to make some noise down there. What's made it a special season? What's made this a good group to work with on the girls' side?
Well, it was a fun year from the standpoint that number one, got to have a season, but then beyond that, having lost last year, we had a pretty new group overall. There's, only a handful of kids who've really, participated before on the team overall. And the freshmen and sophomores that came out this year were, really hardworking and fun kids. So it was nice to see them get a chance and to step up. And then, from the perspective of our kids that we still have competing, it's a group of really hardworking kids. And we actually one of the girls pointed it out the other day. I didn't even think of it, but we were sitting there warming up for practice, and Emily Ork qualified in the discus, but then the other 7 girls who are practicing right now are the same 7 girls who ran at the state cross country meet last fall for us. It was they joked about it was like being back at cross country practice again. But they're just a really good group of hardworking kids. And even with this challenging year, they've always, tried to do their best and kept themselves active when, we weren't really able to have a weight room or, some of the things we do in a normal year.
Scott, the boys down at Edco last week ended up winning that state qualifier. How cool is it when you have a postseason event and you bring home a banner? That has to be pretty rewarding.
Yeah, it was. And I think, for the guys, when we saw the district assignments, I think right away they kind of made that as one of their goals, is to go down there and to compete. And one of the things that I kind of challenged them to do for that district meet was, I thought if we really had a good day, everybody competed hard, we'd have a shot at scoring points in every single event, which they ended up doing. So it wasn't just that, we've got a pretty good powerhouse group of sprinters right now, but a lot of kids stepped up and really did their part and, squeezed as many points as they could out of that. And it was a fun thing to be able to do.
Kevin, I know in 1A, only the event winner qualifies for sure. And then you got to figure out times throughout the rest of the state when it comes to state qualifying times. How stressful is that 15 hours in between, knowing the fact that you want to get as many kids to Des Moines as possible, but you just don't know until it's officially released about noon on Friday?
Yeah, it is. And sometimes there's some where we knew that Billy had qualified in the 3,000, and we knew that our 4x8 was going to be in, that Aaron was going to be in the open 800 because their times were good, and we were just in a really good district for those particular events. But yeah, then we had some where we knew Emma was either going to just make it in or just miss, and we knew Megan Hageman was going to have a good chance in the 1500, but you don't know for sure until you see it. So yeah, it's stressful. It's stressful for the kids. But the state does a pretty good job of getting the stuff out quicker than they did, in the old days. And the other thing too is we track down all the results usually overnight. And so usually by the next morning, after we've stayed up until 2:00 in the morning, we have a pretty good idea of where we're sitting and everything. But yeah, it does make it a little, it's kind of weird. You think of all the other sports, everybody kind of knows exactly what's going on. The second, in football, the second a game is over, the results are on the internet. Whereas track, you got to do some real legwork to to get those results and things like that. So it is a little bit stressful.
Scott, you talked about the boys sprinters. They've had a very good season. Your 4x1 comes in seated third. Your 4x2 there as well, qualifiers in the 100 and the 200. What's made your sprinters so good this season?
Well, I think it goes back to what Coach Kearney had said earlier. You know, the group of kids that we still have competing were kids who last year over the COVID break were still running or lifting. I mean, this is just a group of kids that works really hard, and they're dedicated. They're multiple sport athletes. And I think all of that extra work in the off season, when nobody else, well, I shouldn't say nobody else, when other people weren't working, I think around the state, you can tell which kids put in the miles or lifted, or, I mean, there's quite a differentiation, I think. And the kids that were dedicated made it work somehow.
And Kevin, you mentioned Billy Wagner, 1500. She has the fourth best time. 3,000. She has the fifth best time. Was the cross country runner up this past fall. Where has Billy emerged and gotten better in her career? Obviously, she got off to a really good start and has just seemingly rose from there. What do you credit that to? What makes Billy click and get better pretty much race in and race out?
Oh, I think it's a combination of things. I mean, she definitely has just a level of natural ability. And then, you know, she likes running and she puts in the hard work. She runs consistently year round. You know, so all of that kind of stuff. I think track in particular, she didn't have last season. And really her biggest strength is actually just sort of her aerobic endurance. Whereas, you know, just sort of the strength and speed of track is something that's a new challenge for her. You know, if there was a 10-mile race, she'd be all infinitely better than she even is in cross country. You know, so running 800s and 1500s and even that 3000 in track, there's an element of speed that's a new thing for her. And I mean, I think that's something that she's really risen to the challenge of, because that didn't come easy for her right off the bat. So it's fun to watch her improve at, you know, have a new challenge and improve at that in track. And so she's really, you know, run a lot of shorter races than she's maybe used to, and things like that. So it's, you know, I think that's an area she's really improved. I think that'll help her too going forward in cross country and things like that. Just be used to that speed element that she hasn't been in the past.
Scott, the distance medley relay for the boys, eighth best time in Class 1A. I know a lot of the DMRs in this area have been pretty quick thus far. What's made that group a successful group?
You know, again, it's a group of kids that are multi-sport athletes, and again, did all the work that they needed to do. Going into that race, we kind of knew that was one that we were, we hoped to qualify, but knew really had to run very well, and all the kids stepped up. I mean, I think especially in the 400 and the 800, Logan had a big lifetime best, and Toby had a big lifetime best in that 8 to get us qualified.
And one other high qualifier on the girls' side there, Kevin, Emily Ort, Drake Relays qualifier in the discus, second best time, or second best throw, I should say, in that Class 1A. What's made Emily rise to the occasion this year?
Well, I mean, really for her, that's all her dad and Coach Ort with the throws. But I know one thing that, I mean, really she had a huge advantage of over the last year compared to everybody else is her dad's the coach, and they put a discus ring in their backyard. So when you're at home in quarantine for the last year, not too many people have a discus ring and a coach that are at their house, and they make use of it and go out there and throw on a regular basis. and she, just over her whole career, she's consistently done things as far as lifting weights and practicing in the off season. And, especially something like the discus, that's an event that's really technical. And, it's something that you can't quite just go do on your own a lot of times. So the fact that, she's been able to do that, and take advantage and make the best use of this last year, I think that really helped her and showed in the fact that she's, improved 20 feet basically almost over the course of this season compared to when she was throwing as a sophomore, and just a lot more consistent and things like that. So,
Scott, you and I touched on it before we started this interview. With the time schedules at state this year, the 1A kids are going to be basically running kind of when you're used to running track meets. Does that make things a little bit easier for you, or is that just one of these media things that I tend to make up and ask you about?
No, I never really thought about it that way before. A lot of times we think more about the challenges of the afternoon session. But that's more, you're getting home late at night, but again, like you are from a track meet, the only problem is you don't have mom and dad there with a meal waiting for you. So that is one of the things that's really different is, getting kids good meals for that afternoon session. I think that's harder than it is when you're in the morning.
Kevin, how do you handle this week practice and preparation wise as you get set to tackle the big blue oval come Thursday?
Really pretty much just basically what we've been doing. The last 3 weeks of the season, we kind of, Monday we have our meet, then that Thursday is a conference meet. The following week we have districts on Thursday, and then this week we have state starting on Thursday. So we kind of just follow the same format where, we come in and get some good work in on Monday, and, a little bit less on Tuesday, rest up on Wednesday. So it kind of follows the same pattern, and we just sort of start to back off some of the other stuff like lifting and, just try and, especially with a lot of the shorter events and stuff, it's like you just be fast and take lots of rest. And I mean, you're really not going to get better in the last week or two with training. The only thing that's going to make you better is being rested and fresh. And so that's what we try and aim for.
And Scott, final question for you guys. A lot of your kids that are competing down there have been on the big stage in a lot of events, but you got some newcomers down at the state meet as well. How much are you going to rely on the kids that are experienced being on the big stage, not only in track or cross country, but other sports to maybe help those newcomers along a little bit?
A lot. I mean, and that's, that was kind of my biggest fear with losing last season is, you lose that experience of, and state's just a whole different animal. Everything takes longer. There's way more things to kind of go through. It's not just, hey, South Winn and, so-and-so, you need to hurry up and run over and check in. They don't call you more than once. So having those kids that are there who've been through it before, and showing the younger guys the ropes, even, hey, every once in a while, this is a good place to sneak into to get out of the sun. Our guys over the course of my track coaching career have kind of found these little nooks and crannies that most people don't know about. So just having that and then passing that knowledge and information on is big.
Well, I'll let you keep that or those secrets within the Warrior Track and Field program. Well, coaches, congrats on a great season. Hopefully it's even greater with some great performances down in Des Moines this week. We wish you best of luck.
Thank you. We wish all those other teams luck too as they compete down there.
Scott Conway and Kevin Kearney, the South Winn Boys and Girls Track Program.